Thank you, Tom, and good afternoon, everyone. It's amazing to me to see so many faces that I have not laid eyes on for years, and in some cases, decades. It's a great bonus. Stephanie asked me to say a few words today about her evolution as an artist, and with so many people present whose life is more deeply anchored in the arts than mine, I wondered why that could be, and it's probably because I was there almost from the beginning. I knew Stephanie's father, Gordon Rayner, very well. He who had built his stone castle with his own hands and held court there at the edge of the woods overlooking that primeval meteoric pond. And when he didn't hold court, Gord would walk up his staircase to his tower and paint, paint, paint. Kathy was there too, and between Stephanie and her sister, there was a flood of tales of dark, scary woods, and again, that pond, that scary pond, and stargazing and all kinds of nature experiences. And then there was Gordon Rayner Jr., who veered off on his own in every sense of the verb, but most importantly in terms of his art, which could not have been more different from his father's. So there was Stephanie, and you know, when you think of it, within that family context, father, brother, well-known artists, how do you define yourself if you want to be an artist too? How do you muster the courage to do that? And I guess encouragement from the masters might have helped, but that was not to be, because Steph's dad did not think that a girl could match his skills, which was not an unusual thing at that time, because he had graduated from that elite small circle of top North American illustrators where such thinking was prevalent. And I imagine a lot of female artists at that time had that handicap. So what did Steph do? Well, first she decided to go traveling with a backpack. And for those of you who doubt some of those stories, yes, it's true, she did cross the Hindu Kush from Kabul to the northern Afghan plains, because I was there, I can attest to it. When Stephanie came back, she really focused on her art, got serious about it, and right from the beginning she drew inspiration from things few others did. Her early work reflected both nature's promise and its dark side, and those of you who laid their eyes on one of her early, widely collected prints know what a loon looks like underwater. The trajectory from that to the boat, whose unveiling we celebrate today, followed a path preordained by those early days at that murky pond. And when Stephanie refers to it in her artist statement, that is not coincidental. At some point, Steph started to address the potential and perils of science. And as she struggled to explore those through her art, she recognized that metaphor was the only bridge between those two forces, between art and science. There was Solar Boat, which hangs in a museum here in Toronto, and there were other creations like Galileo's Islet, which found its way to Zurich. The man who brokered that sale, I remember him well, was the chief scientist at NASA. And he was one of a growing circle of renowned scientists, teachers, and clerics who became aware of Stephanie's art. Before long, she was asked to offer her insights at lectures at places like Stanford's Center for Advanced Studies, at the Millennial Conference in South Africa, and notably at a Vatican symposium. The bottom line was that Stephanie's art was noticed by a wide spectrum of people and touched them deeply. being extraordinarily thoughtful and thought-provoking, and drawing on what is far greater than us, yet comforts us all. It managed to cross boundaries and challenge, but on a different level, soothe and reassure. And that is quite a combination. Today we celebrate Stephanie's evolution as an artist and her magnum opus, The Boat of Eternal Return. It's a work that reflects and incorporates many things. It is the distillation of Stephanie's opening herself and receiving inspiration from God knows what or who. It offers glimpses of Steph seeking out the seemingly unrelated components of this work and bending them to the form that spoke to her, and of arranging them into a harmony that leaves us in awe. And it reflects a purpose and tenacity that stuns. The effort to bring the Boat of Eternal Return to its perfection took place over many, many years. And so here, finally, it is ours to contemplate. It is on public display. Now, others in this gathering are more qualified to put words to what Stephanie has created here. But I want to share with you what I feel when I'm in the presence of the Boat of Eternal Return. I'm in a twilight zone. Its serenity quieting, and its undeniable energy keeping me attentive and focused. I'm left to rest and engage, and rest and engage. And that, I believe, is what we're meant to do, because the Boat of Eternal Return transcends what to us humans is known and knowable, and what is forever beyond our grasp. And with that, Stephanie, I want to thank you too for this wonderful gift, and I want to invite Tom back to the podium as it were to introduce you.
Thank you very much, Peter. And without further words or ado, let's welcome Stephanie Rayner to the floor. Stephanie.
My first words have to be thank you so much for putting the energy and the time into coming to celebrate. This is not going to be one of those steely-eyed talks about what is art and where are the metaphors and what does this mean. No, this is a time to celebrate something that was a dream that actually moved from a dream to become its own reality. And here it stands. So this is a time for celebration, not art lectures. And Peter's already said it beautifully. So I have to warn you right off the bat that this celebration is both a wedding and a funeral. I will never do anything like this again. That each beginning has an ending, and each ending is a beginning, and so the circle goes. Now, I also have to say that I have two stories about the boat, but I'll warn you that this talk contains violence, sexuality, coarse language, and if the buttons don't hold on this culotte, nudity. So one story about saving the boat was, I could look at anything. I could whip out your kidneys, but I have such a weak stomach for smell. I could never change a diaper. My child would have had to live inside a Sparty, a green garbage bag. So when I saw those moose ribs in the pit, it was January, they were frozen. And I remember saying to the warden, I'm gonna go in. If I'm not back in 2 hours, come and get me, because I'll have turned myself inside out like a sock in there, you know? So, dear soul said he would keep this frozen mass of moose bones in his animal freezer so that I could come and get them in the summer. Is Murray here? No? No Murray Keith? So Murray, thank God, who's my partner in crime here, had a truck, and we went up to Algonquin Park and we got the bones. The warden lifted them out of this deep freeze, and my whole body just went, and this is what they smelled like, frozen. I said, we have got to go and get some lye and get the moose membrane off these bones. Now, when I was growing up in the country, you could go to any feed store and get lye. So I went to Bracebridge's feed store, and they said, oh no, lye is a caustic and a poison. You can only get it at a pharmacy. Now, at the same time, I was doing this piece called Jacob's Ladder, which had butcher knives and bayonets as the steps up the ladder. Don't ask. And we were looking for those. So I go to the far, we heave what looks like a body bag into the back of the truck, drive to Bracebridge, to a pharmacy. I go in, the truck's parked outside in the August heat, say to the pharmacist, I need a vat of lye. And he says, he's got his glasses down on his nose, looks at me and said, why would you need a vat of lye? It is a caustic and a poison. And I thought, oh, better left unsaid. I just said to him, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, let's just say I have to get the flesh off bones. And as I said that, a woman appeared at my elbow and said to the pharmacist, Herb, there's a truck parked outside with a body bag in the back and it's leaking. My dog just rolled in it, it smells terrible. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and Murray came up right at that minute and said, Steph, you know the big butcher knives you're looking for? I think I know where we can get them. So the pharmacist's arm shot for the phone, and I yelled, I'm not crazy, I'm an artist. And then I thought, which of those two is worse? So he demanded to go and see what was in the body bag. So all reeled back. It took 3 years to get the stench out of the bones. Everybody thinks, oh, it must be glamorous to do this. Oh no, thank God the Inquisition had died down. I spent weeks in Peter's cottage with an oil drum over a fire, big spumes of Kleenex hanging out of my nose, my hair straight, stirring those bones, right out of my back. So that is one story. And the other story is more nostalgic. People ask me where the boat came from. And you know what? I don't know. I didn't know. And I started to think about it. And if a child is a parent to the person, then the one who originally dreamed this boat was the child I used to be. And that's the truth. When I was a little girl, we lived out in the middle of nowhere. There was not another soul around. It was really, in some ways, a feral child of nature. My hair was stuck to my head with birds. I wore my coonskin cap all the time. And I watched grown-ups. They seemed hairy, smelly, filled with passions that only left them with anger and anxiety, and they couldn't. With my elfin child's body, I could walk across the crust of snow, and they fell through, and I thought that is a symbol for everything. You are too heavy for this world. So, I had a special way with animals. This is childhood's charm. I mean, I have held a fawn while the mother stood right beside me with childhood's charm. I can remember my baby raccoon on my shoulder. I always held onto my ear and chirped into it. I can remember walking up to a Brahma bull and just leaning into his shoulder and stroking his dewlap where everyone else was terrified, this massive shoulder. It was childhood's charm. I would be rocked to sleep in the limbs of trees. I knew what I had. I called it the splendor in the grass. And I never wanted to lose it. I didn't want to be a hairy, heavy adult. And so every full moon, I would slip out and watch to see Peter Pan's ship go across that moon so that I wouldn't have to grow up. And I had my speech ready for him. I would say, "Oh, Peter Pan, you do not want that Wendy child. You do not want that girly girl. I have a coonskin cap, and I can skin mice, and I've got a knife. I climb trees." And the pièce de resistance was I had a chocolate box full of baby toads. And I would take one of those little critters and pop it in my mouth and hold it there. And then when an adult turned, sorry, Aunt Audrey, when an adult turned, I would stick my tongue out with a baby toad on the end of it. Is that right, Kathy? Where are you? Did I do that? Yeah. So life was like a box of baby toadlets for a while. So I would wait for that ship to pass. And I knew it had to pass before I hit puberty. And I waited and I waited. It never came. And so, in the meantime, it took me another 30 years, I want you to know, to realize that it was Wendy that men really wanted. Though they didn't want someone who could skin mice. But I'm sure that if I go into the internet, somewhere, there will be some group of people that can appreciate my trick with the toad on the end of my tongue, you know? So, in the story of Peter Pan says, it must be a great adventure to live. He also says, it must be a great adventure to die. Because in Neverland, time runs backwards, and you are caught between opposites. When the lost boys choose to come back from Netherland so that they can be loved and hear stories, it is the draw of art and love that brings the lost boys back. Peter Pan brings them back in Hook's ship with the jet black sails and the huge skull and crossbones. Because what Peter Pan is doing is bringing the lost boys on the ship of death back to both loving and dying. So, it is the ship of death, and to accept life fully is also to accept death. And though I waited long for Peter Pan, I have lived much, I have loved much, and I finally made my own bloody ship. And it was such an adventure. Now I have, this is the Academy Awards, so I can thank as many people as I want. I have people to thank. I would like to, and when I thank you, I would like you to put up your hand so everybody can see you and to know what an important part of this boat you are. Fraser, put up your hand. There's Fraser Torrode. He looks like Merlin. He is Merlin. Fraser, with the magic of Merlin, took the boat's measure, then designed, produced, painted, and installed the elegant machine that gave the boat wings. And he did it in 2 days. Rob Davidson, where are you, Rob?
Back here.
Hands up, Rob. Rob Davidson, my friend, who caught with filaments of light in one night the extraordinary photographs of the boat that now grace the catalog. Nobody does it better. Baby, you're the best. Daphne is ill, but where's Diana? Diana Perry, my barbarian babe sister. Daphne and Diana gave my soul sustenance with wild barbarian horse rides. Oh, wild, wild. Daphne and Diana, with 6 burly men, took the gigantic crates that housed the boat and kept them in the barn for a year. One look at Diana and you know why 6 burly men are always close at hand. Diana, my sister. Dr. Alan Davidson. Is Alan here?
No, sorry.
It was Dr. Alan Davidson who allowed me to spend time with his U of T team while he was working on the Human Genome Project and provide the DNA sequencing gels that are central to the meaning of the boat in here. Max Layton, who can't be with us because he's ill. He is the corrector of my terrible punctuation, supporter, and deeply appreciated art advisor for the last 40 years. Peter and Caroline Cavelti. Where are you? Carol? Where are you? Carol, Peter. Ever faithful family. Ever faithful friends who've supported with wisdom, kindness, cooking, cottage, and an extra 4 pair of eyes to see it. Without you both, I do not know on what galaxy far away my nerves would reside. Mark Churl. Mark, where are you? Where? Mark, from crutches. Mark Churl, who with a torn Achilles tendon drove through rush hour traffic day after day to film the process of the boat resurrecting herself. Mark. Chris Leonard. Is Chris here, Peter?
No.
The fellow who did the sound system. The music that accompanies this show took me 5 years to put together. But it was Chris who makes the music like golden motes in the air. You do not know where the music comes from. It stands and falls around you like golden dust. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing that he did. Fiona McCall. Hands up, Fiona. What a patient, supportive, and loving pal. Fiona lived with that boat in her house, her garage, and in the end, for 6 months, in her small laundry room. Now, having to do your delicates while squinching around a Viking ship seems to be beyond the call, but not beyond this McCall. And what a support. My main squeeze, where's he? Main squeeze is back there, from Maine, Dr. Jim Weaver, who kept his support and love steady for 17 years while he waited for this boat to move the hell over. And Paul. Here. This is where I may get weepy. This is Paul Howard. And I can't say it better than in the catalog. Paul, your fingerprints are all over this boat. You have the kindness and patience of a saint. Right at the very beginning, Paul asked me what the end of the boat looked like. We were standing in a cellar. I said, the end of the boat looks like this. Like that. And Paul said, great, draw it. I said, I can't. It doesn't translate. I can only do it in the air. And Paul looked at me and blinked a few times, sighed and said, right, I'm going to attach a piece of wood to your arm and a pencil to the wood, and you draw it in the air. And we began the boat. And at that moment, I said, Paul, one day we are going to stand in a museum with this shape behind us. And I will tell that story. This man only had 2 sketches and 1 monoprint, only reference points. For this man who waited for my dream to unfold like a 30-foot long piece of origami. The boat would not exist without you. It is Paul's fingerprint that is I carved into the keel of the boat. One side is Paul's fingerprint and the other was mine, because boats are supposed to have eyes. And between the 2 of us, we saw this boat from wherever beyond, sheltered it and gave it sanctuary until it came to rest here. So, the boat would not exist without you. And there are no words, and that's the truth. There are no words. I have some other thank you. My family. Hands up, my sister Kathy. Her wonderful family, my nephews, where are they? Cody, Jason, Trevor, my niece, Daphne, right there, hands up, family. They all think I'm crazy. But they managed to love me anyway. To my supported extended family of cousins, hands up, cousins everywhere. Yay! And dear Aunt Audrey. Now, some of these cousins are descended from what were called the Black Laffertys. And I want to tell you, it wasn't because of the color of their hair. Aunt Audrey just turned 39 this year. She's the oldest Lafferty that has ever lived, what with all that drinking and card playing and such. So thank you for being here, Aunt Audrey. Dear Aunt Audrey. All right, my dear pals from Maine, hands up. Mainers, all hands up. Look around you. This group drove 24 hours to be here. If I do not go gently into that dark United States, at least you know that I have wonderful people waiting for me on the other side. Thank you so much, Mainers, for making me happy. And my dear friends Now these people put up with me moaning about this boat for a decade and a half. So hands up, who has listened to me? Hands up. Who has supported me? Who has encouraged me? Who has advised me? Fed me? Photographed? Gave certificates for massages? And let me know, most importantly, let me know that they believed in the dream that was this boat. Well, I looked around that maze. Everyone but the man at the back had his hand up. Oh, he's a security guard, sorry. So that makes every person in the room, if it takes a village to raise it took 2 countries to raise this boat. Turn around, everybody have a look at her. I think we've done good.
Thank you, Stephanie. The celebration will continue here in the gallery and in the upstairs boardroom. There's some refreshments laid on for all of you who are here. If you're traveling back, have a safe journey. But before you go, I would like to express my thanks to the great team of people here at PAMA. From the advisory board, Chuck Scott is here, the chair of that advisory board, Marty Grant, the director of the institution. My staff, who have worked in the education area, in the curatorial area, in the construction, the handling, and in the lifting of this. Joseph, Angie, Denise, Sonia, Jerry, and everyone else who have in some way been touched by this boat and who has touched this boat. We're all changed, we are all different people, we're all new people. And for this, we thank you very much, the artist, Stephanie Rayner. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Reception, we are going to the Mandarin. You have to pay for your own dinner, but I'm paying for champagne, okay? So my sister Kathy right here has the, she better have, yes, the address to the, because there's 2 Mandarins in Brampton. This one's quite a big one. Good food, no MSG. So you are all welcome. Just get a card from Kathy. The reservation's under my name. So when we leave here, if you would like to join at the Mandarin, we would love to have you. All right, let's mingle.